Okay, everybody, let's recap the lesson. I think that today's lesson is a nice little review of what you learned in middle school. I'm hoping. Pythagorean's theorem. You guys always say it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, first of all, triangles aren't always called ABC. For instance, my triangle is PIG, and this formula only works on right triangles. So instead of a squared plus b squared equals c squared, it's just leg squared, that's that side, plus leg squared, that side, equals hypotenuse squared. Okay, so then in example 1, it's not ABC, but it's this triangle here, which is PIG. So I went leg squared, 8 squared plus 6 squared equals little g squared, because sides are named from their opposite angles. So 8 squared is 64, 6 squared is 36, add them I get 100. Square root of both sides gives me 10. This means this is a perfect triple. A perfect triple, Pythagorean triple, is where all three numbers, or all three sides of the triangle, are nice whole numbers. Okay, that's a Pythagorean triple. Okay. Now, example 2. Same thing. We're going to go a squared, leg squared, plus 15 squared, other leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So 15 squared is 225. 17 squared is 289. I just did those on my calculator. Then I'm going to solve. Let's subtract 225. Subtract 225. I get 64. Square root both sides to get a by itself, and I get a to be 8. Again, that is a Pythagorean triple. Pythagorean triple. Pythagorean triple is if all three sides are whole numbers. 8, 15, 17. Okay? Example 3 says find the missing angle and the sides of the triangle. Well, the angle, since 90 degrees here, we know there's 180 degrees in any triangle, right? But because 90 of it's being used, a faster way to do it is just to know these two angles always add up to 90. Always, because 90 degrees is used up here. So if I want to find angle in, I just subtract it from 90, and I end up getting a 48 degree angle. So that's 48 degrees there, okay? And then I'm just going to use Pythagorean's theorem to find this side here. I went 4 squared plus 10 squared equals b squared. 4 squared is 16. 10 squared is 100. Add them together, I get 116. Now, when I take this square root, I get a decimal. So this is not a Pythagorean triple, but 10.77 is a close approximation. Okay. All right. Turn the page. Okay. Now we classify triangles. So we have an acute triangle. An acute triangle is any triangle that has all the angles are less than 90. A right triangle obviously has one right angle, and an obtuse triangle has an obtuse angle. If, in Pythagoras' theorem, a squared plus b squared, these two sides squared are greater than c squared, then it's an acute triangle. If a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then we know it's a right triangle because that's Pythagoras' theorem. But if c squared is bigger than a squared plus b squared, we know it has to be obtuse. So we checked it out. We did Pythagoras' theorem. With this triangle, 3 squared plus 5 squared equals 7 squared. We got 9 plus 25, which is 34. And 34 is less than, or c squared is bigger. This triangle, we didn't draw it. It has to be obtuse. Second example, we went 5 squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. Right, just Pythagoras' theorem, you got 25 plus 144. Added those together, you get 169, because 13 squared is 169. Hey, it's equal to a right triangle. And then finally, the last one, I went 12 squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. 144 plus 225. I added those together, and I got 369, which is much bigger than the 289 for the c squared. So this one must be acute. If a squared plus b squared is bigger, it's got to be acute. It's that easy. Finally, last one I did was an example. We have a tower. It's a 100-foot tower. And we have a guy wire. A guy wire is just a wire that holds it in place in case the wind comes, and it's 30 feet away. So I want to find the length of the guy wire. So I just used Pythagoras' theorem. Okay, I went 30 squared plus 100 squared equals c squared. So 30 squared is 900. 100 squared is 10,000. I added the two together. I get 10,900. Square root of both sides, and I got about 104.4 feet for the guy wire. Okay. Homework was a worksheet. It was worksheet 9-1. So homework was a worksheet 9-1. Please start showing the work, okay? It's critical you actually do the work on the homework. And that's all I have.